Walchef. This is a Cali BBQ Media production. We are live streaming on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. Today, we are talking about Google and restaurants. We have Mike Nagy, who is a product manager at Google, as our special guest. We also have other Rising Tides members, digital hospitality leaders that are going to be joining the show. Google's putting on a really cool event next week. I am honored. I will be going to New York City. That's why I'm wearing this vest, just pulled out some of the cold clothes. But we're going to learn from Google about the things that restaurant owners should be focusing on in 2025. Mike Nagy, welcome to the show. Can you give us a quick background of how long you've worked for Google and the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so I've been at Google for 5.5 years. The work that I do at Google is primarily focused on small businesses, Google Business Profile. And for the bulk of my career at Google, I have worked on restaurant-specific features in one capacity or another.
Amazing. Well, thank you for being here, for being a special guest. I'm going to let my producers know to bring my other co-hosts. So these are people that will be joining me in New York. Our goal as a community, we believe a rising tide lifts all ships. We crowdsource content, we crowdsource information. And if we have other leaders that have great questions or have great stories, that's why we created this live show. So let's start with Sterling Douglas. Sterling, CEO of Shaquillle. Can you take a quick intro? Who are you? What do you believe in? And what are your questions for Mike Nagy, or questions before we get to the event? Go for it.
Sure. So Sterling Douglas, co-founder and CEO at Shaquillle. What do I believe in? I believe in getting more orders for restaurants. And Google's a big part of that. And so, for me, knowing how large Google is and how many restaurants there is, one of my biggest questions is trying to figure out what are the things that most restaurants can do that are low-hanging fruit. To improve kind of their digital storefronts and their digital presence via Google. So I'm always looking to collect as many of those as I can.
Do I get to answer that?
Yeah, this is you. Yeah, I'm definitely not going to answer.
Like 5 of these are going to stack them up. Yeah, I think in terms of like lowest hanging fruit, and this is all predicated on businesses having claimed and verified their listing on Google. But the simplest things that you can do in order of operation are just make sure that the factual information on your listing is up to date. It's kind of surprising how many businesses on Google have a factual attribute like their website, and it doesn't exist anymore. Like they forgot to renew their domain name. Or maybe they have a menu URL that leads to a PDF that in the actual like file name of the URL will say like 2013-01-02.pdf, and it's like clearly that's going to be a and these are just links. Like it takes like 2 seconds to update that information. There's a number of attributes that you can set that will help you be found. So for example, my wife and I got a dog a few months back, and we actually have an attribute within Business Profile that will say, does this business allow dogs, or are dogs allowed inside, outside on the patio? And these can actually unlock visibility into an entirely new query stream of users, and only take a few seconds to set. Beyond that, when it comes to things like, specifically digital ordering, we do have the option for a business to set a preferred ordering channel. Generally, what's best for the restaurant is also best for the user in terms of unit economics and restaurant operational efficiency. And it's amazing to see how many businesses don't set this value, but yet have a preferred channel. And then there's some things that might be a little bit more of a time investment, but I'll keep it short and sweet, and then we can get into that stuff later.
Amazing. Just a quick reminder, if you guys are watching on LinkedIn, please repost it, share this so that we can grow this channel, get more people involved in these weekly calls. We even have Zach Oates. Well, Zach, you look too stylish for me not to let you skip the line. So Zach Oates Well, first, Zach.
Wait, is this Zach Oates from Miami, Cartagena? Are you in Berlin at the club? What is going on?
Colombia, amigos. ¿Qué tal?
Gigolo, drug
Sorry,
dealer. What is going on, man?
I can't hear you over my jacket. What'd you say, Troy? That's like...
Zach Oates, can you, number one, first of all, I just learned this yesterday, but why don't you tell people that you're a tech founder and you live in the city called American Fork? Is that really the name of your city?
Yeah, it's called
How's that
American
possible?
Fork.
Did you change the name of your city? American Fork? Really?
Well, I actually used to live in Spanish Fork, and I moved to American Fork, ironically.
Amazing.
You know?
Well, Zach, real quick, 60 seconds. Who are you? What do you believe? And what's your question for Mike Nagy from Google?
Yeah, founder and CEO of Ovation. Live in Utah, from Jersey, grew up in restaurants, learned that everything was about guest experience, and got frustrated that the only way to measure it was through online reviews and or long surveys. And I think that there is a better way, and so created a 2-question survey for the guest that gives all the answers to improve operations for the restaurant. My question around, specifically around Google, is the velocity of 5-star reviews seems to have a huge impact on rating, on ranking. And I'd love any sort of ideas you have on getting those 5-star reviews, and the importance of those 5-star reviews.
I don't want to over-index on, like pushing. Like I think that there's a beauty in this happening organically. I think that like what I'll share an example. One of the most clever examples of a business subtly nudging a user is actually a barbershop here in Austin. My cell reception at this barbershop is like abysmal. And I asked the owner of this business, his name's Matt. I asked him, I said, "What's the Wi-Fi password?" And he had like a little like chalkboard. And he said, "Wi-Fi password is there. Leave a 5-star review." And I love that. It was like magical. It wasn't digital.
Wait, the password? The password was leave a 5-star?
The password was leave a 5-star review. So it was like, it
That's
wasn't
funny.
You didn't need to do it, but it was like a subtle way of reminding you as a patron to leave a 5-star review.
Or not so subtle, but yeah, I love that.
Well, I mean,
Is the rest of the password or else?
Like,
or else.
You're gonna get a bad
haircut. I didn't have to do it, but actually, if you look up Little Barber in Austin, Texas, I think I've left a 5-star review there.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelsey Verdier, Marquis. Can you let everyone know who are you? What are you guys building, and what's your question for Mike?
Absolutely. I'm Kelsey Verdier. I'm the VP of Marketing at Marquis. Marquis helps manage your online presence through listings management, like on Google and Yelp and all of the other places that your restaurant lives online. And we also help manage your online reviews. We create a platform that brings them all together. You get all of that review-based guest feedback, and you can respond and engage with your guests. I believe that the relationships that restaurants build with their guests digitally are just as important as the relationships that are built in person. There's so much more to a guest experience than the food that's served. And I think that we ignore that digital space to our detriment as restaurant owners and operators, because guests are finding you online, and their first and sometimes their last experience with your brand happens not in person, but digitally. Mike, my question for you is around that space. I'm really curious, what's the biggest change in restaurant guest consumer behavior that you've seen in Google search in the last 1 to 2 years? How have things changed in your observation?
Restaurants. Okay, so it doesn't not in the context of reviews, or do you want this in the context of reviews?
If that's one of the big changes that you've seen, I'd love to hear about it, but it doesn't need to be in the context of reviews.
Because you planted the seed for reviews, I think I'll lead with that. It's more like kind of a caution more than anything. Obviously, like there are a number of popular LLMs out there that can help people creatively like write responses. Uh, but I can kind of tell when something is like a little too long-winded and is probably written by a bot. And I think something that I'm concerned about, and I'm not necessarily saying that this is like an emerging trend, but it's like, it's on the horizon, where I'm going to be a little wary when a business replies to my review that it might just be written by Gemini or Claude or ChatGPT or something else, which I think will, you mentioned the how it's not just about the food, but it's about the overall experience. If I'm being replied to by a bot, like I'm probably going to put less value on that interaction. So yeah, that's maybe like a word of warning.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Kyle and Sarah, closed Monday.
That's it.
What's up? Who are you? What do you believe?
Well, I believe in democratizing the access to real estate for emerging restaurant brands across the country. And one of the things we leverage quite a bit is technology, specifically Google, Placer, all sorts of things. But Google, most importantly, because it's what they're most familiar with. And, Google's has that extensive location data, consumer behavior insights. When a brand is expanding, are there any patterns or other indicators that you found to be most beneficial for a restaurant when they're searching a new market?
I mean, isn't there like some famous like like well studied like business study about how Starbucks puts all of this effort into finding a new location? I think it was like Pete's that would just like open up a new Pete's wherever there was a Starbucks. I there was a restaurant brand that for a while was just going to replicate that formula with like Chick-fil-A.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't sell a competing product to Chick-fil-A, but they just knew that Chick-fil-A poured all of this research into, selecting and finding the, Chick-fil-A franchisees, like put all this effort into Chick-fil-A, and they had a roughly similar like customer demographic and price point. In the lines that Chick-fil-A get pretty long. So they figured that if they would just kind of anchor their locations next to Chick-fil-A's, they would get some of that overflow traffic and people willing to try their business. So that's like maybe not digital specific. But like beyond that, like cities are changing. Downtown, remote work. Obviously, like I'm in an office right now, but like I think paying attention to where people are, the days that they are there and the days that they are not there, and kind of at least like taking that into your calculus when you're opening up a new location and you're trying to calibrate like the amount of foot traffic that you're going to get, is something that businesses should pay attention to. Very unscientific, simple thing to do would be to just like look at the traffic to and from that place on different days of the week while you're like looking at locations. If it's light, then that people probably aren't coming in and out of that area of town. That probably only applies to bigger metros and not necessarily suburban areas, but something. It's an answer.
That's great. Well, thank you. And just a reminder to the community, if you're waiting in the green room, we will bring you up after Troy Hooper. And a reminder to my co-hosts up here on stage, you don't need to wait for me to call on you. I trust you implicitly with that unmute button. So jump into the conversation. This is a lot different format from most other podcasts, but it's really cool to have all of you here. We know how busy you guys all are. We know that you're all going to be in New York next week at Google. So to the community, if you're listening to this and if you have questions that we don't get answered today, we will take them to New York and we'll ask Mike again and Lisa and team. Troy Hooper, go for it.
Well, hello, everybody. First thing I want to say is, Zach Oates, if you're going to dress like that, you better have a gold chain on. You're from Jersey. I know you own a gold chain, my friend. When you come to New York, you better dress like that, and you better be wearing a gold chain and carrying a Merce. My name's Troy Hooper. I'm the CEO of Hot Palate America, a private equity holding company that owns a brand called Pepper Lunch. restaurants. I'm the co-CEO of the Pepper Lunch brand globally. We have 533 restaurants in 17 countries and growing. We have 75 stores under active development in North America, and we expect to exponentially grow that number this year. I have a podcast named The Pineapple Perspective. We talk to people like on this stage one-on-one, and yeah, what do I believe? You know, Ashwin Kamlani did it again. He said what we're all thinking, what we believe in this room, and why there's these people on the stage and about to be many more of them. You're not going to reach any sense of highest success potential if you don't do it with the help of other people. You have to get your people and other people around you involved. And everybody in this room, except for Mike yet, but Mike will help me at some point, has had a hand in that education and that network and that growth. So I believe in that. My question, Mike, is I always like to be ahead of the game. I want to know what's coming. I want to see around that corner slightly. And companies like yours like to keep things pretty quiet and then just launch shit on a given day. So Mike, tell us the one thing that's happening in the very short term that you're safe to share that we all need the inside baseball on. Give the people who are paying attention, the people in this audience, the people in this community, just that little preview of one feature or tip or trick or change in the platform, something that we could get ahead on and do before everybody else does.
Well, hopefully everyone does it at the same time. But if you haven't already connected your non-Google online presence, i.e. social media handles, to your business profile, you should be doing that. Social media is becoming a very, like, you know, you used to think about, like, you know, the open web and having a website is like, that was your online presence. That's starting to shift more and more to social media. Like, you know, their menu, digital menu providers, their online ordering providers. Like, you could start a new restaurant today without a website at all, and just like a link tree to the most prevalent resources, and, you know, a link to your social media page. So if you haven't already seen some of the social media content for, you know, local place queries, restaurant queries on Google search, it's there. We can pull in content from, you know, public followed Instagram, Facebook, X, pages. And I think that we will be doing more in that space. You know, to highlight that, like, really popular, you know, buzzy, authentic content. It's a great way for people to find out, you know, about events at your business, specials, deals. You know, this, like, kind of like ephemeral content. So yeah, I would just make sure that you have Google pointed at those resources, so that, you know, we can do what we do best as a search engine and index that content and figure out the right place to display it for the right query stream.
That's awesome. Before we bring
Now,
up
Troy, I just want to point out, I want to point out what he said is important. I think what he didn't say is also important. You didn't hear TikTok. I'm just saying, I don't know if the Supreme Court has made their final ruling, but I'm just saying, he didn't say it, so you might have inside baseball somewhere.
Supreme Court did make the ruling today and upheld the allowance of the ban. That happened at 10 a.m. Eastern this morning. It doesn't mean it's going away. Biden is going to unenforce it for 36 hours. And Trump is supposedly going to write an executive order to ignore it on the 19th or 20th. But anyway, it doesn't matter, right? Kyle would tell you this. Don't hang all of your whole life on somebody else's platform. Be everywhere. Be on all the platforms.
Yeah. Was that a dig at Kyle?
Wait,
that was
he's literally Mr. Restaurants on TikTok.
No, it's not a dig. That's what Kyle would tell you to do. Is, like, he doesn't exist. You don't exist in one place. You don't put your whole life in one platform. We've seen this before. We've seen where people have lost their IGs, millions of followers, and lost their IGs and couldn't recover them because they got hacked. I mean, yeah. Except for Google, you should definitely exist only on Google when it comes to search.
I didn't even say that. I mean,
I know.
The social media landscape is like, it should be fluid. Like, you should have competition, and in that space. And I'm not going to comment on the ruling, but I mean, platforms come and go, and yeah, I mean,
Well, Zach still has his MySpace account. Him and Kyle send each other
Yeah.
music clips regularly.
Small
if
network.
you're still posting things on MySpace, you should probably
Zach's too old
listen to
for
more podcasts.
MySpace. Zach was
What's that?
doing
Oh, yeah.
Zach was doing Zynga before MySpace. That's what he's still on.
Hey, I gotta say, Mike, I'm still a little bit bitter about Aardvark and you guys shutting that one down because that was
I didn't
my
work here
Aardvark.
when that happened, and Aardvark was such a great tool. Aardvark was amazing.
It was.
I actually interviewed with one of the people who joined Google through the Aardvark acquisition. It was one of my interviewers, and I had a hard time just not fangirling about how cool Aardvark was. Using an IM client to be able to just
Hey,
ask Q&A questions and get responses was just magical.
There it is.
I was on Aardvark daily. It was anyway. But yeah, they come and go, and nothing else has replaced Aardvark in my life. Not even my children have really filled
Oh my
that
goodness.
gap that Aardvark has left.
Well,
Sterling, I feel personally attacked by your Zynga call out, by the way.
as we bring on the rest of the community, the Rising Tide community, thank you guys for waiting patiently. We'll bring you up, allow you to introduce yourself, ask Mike a question, but I'll get it started. Mike, can you share on YouTube? It's something that this community, Rising Tide, we've been talking a lot about. Me as a restaurant owner at Cali BBQ, we've started focusing a lot more on YouTube. It's definitely from a social media standpoint, it's more of a difficult platform. You got to build YouTube first, but now what you're doing with YouTube Shorts and things, can you share from a global perspective why restaurants should care about YouTube, or should they care?
I think you should find that out for yourself. Like, I think publishing to shorts is a great way to kind of dip your toes into it and see if you get any type of engagement. I've only ever published one YouTube short just to see what it was like, and it was actually pretty impressive to see what the distribution of the short that I made was. I created like a novelty Instagram like satire account and did the same thing with Reels, and I didn't see the same kind of like immediate gratification and distribution. I definitely think that there's an opportunity for it's like one thing for a brand to be posting content on a platform like YouTube, and it's another thing to have to be featured in some of these more like long form like documentaries where different places get highlighted and tagged. In the YouTube description now, like I've seen businesses have their social media handles tagged. I've seen them tag the actual Google Place Sheet uh, uh, web address so that people can click on all the different places in a video. So I think that there's something in the YouTube space, but it's kind of like TikTok. Like I don't see like I can see a lot of influencers posting content on TikTok and gaining a following. I haven't really seen that catch on with brands, and it's the same type of like more user focused than brand focused content.
Yep.
But if you have an opportunity to be featured in one of these like longer form, full YouTube videos that are like diving into, the culture or whatever, of restaurants and community A, B, or C, Asheville, North Carolina, like I would do it. I would do it.
Awesome. Appreciate that. Chris Tripoli, first time. Welcome, my friend. Can you take 60 seconds? Who are you? What do you believe? And what's your question for Mike G from Google?
Hey, Shawn, thank you. Happy to be here. Yes, it's good to see you. And I'm Chris Tripoli. I am a principal at the independent restaurant consulting group called the Restaurant Clinic. We're based in Austin, Texas. I am a contributing member of restaurantowner.com. Some of you might know that, doing education and training on the web. We were recently purchased by the National Restaurant Association. And so now we're really more of an educational arm of the NRA. I host their podcast, Corner Booth, which is a ball, getting to interview today's restaurant entrepreneurs and listen to their cares and concerns and what they're doing about them. I guess my question or comment, Mike, would be to elaborate a little bit more on how we might be able to see and decipher what's going to be coming at us, and that is the artificial intelligence movement. I'm already told by, I think more than I would like to hear, independent restaurant operators planning on using various tools that are ChatGPT or others for reviews and things. So that kind of goes against the grain. And you mentioned it, earlier, that it was something that you thought you guys were going to be able to somehow sift through. I'd like to hear more about that.
That's more of a personal opinion than like a company position when it comes to LLM generated reviews. Like I personally, so maybe I should have added that caveat.
It's okay. It's only live streamed and repurposed.
Can't tell when something has probably been written by a machine and it comes off as less authentic.
Yes.
So, but I do think that there's a ton of value in using, these types of generative AI tools in your business in a, very tasteful manner. I use it for email all the time. I write and rewrite emails to the point where sometimes like the flow of the content is lost, or I've made a embarrassing grammatical mistake because I've written this sentence like 15 times. And being able to use these tools for a way more sophisticated, spell check or grammar check or change the tone. If I'm writing something heated and I can, say like, can you please make me seem less angry?
Yes.
And then I can still take that draft and like, add my personal touches to it, because when these machines write things, like it doesn't come off as like as me. So I'll still need to tweak it, but that's powerful. I also think that you can use LLMs and things like Gemini or Chat GPT to do like market research way more quickly. Like as a product manager, just the capacity to like have a hypothesis and get use these tools to check your pressure test your hypothesis, and like what are some pros and cons of insert whatever blah blah blah, and it can generate a few things, and you can like dive deeper into each of those results or sources. Like I think there's going to be a utility for that
Yeah.
in every industry.
Well, there is one now. We've been seeing great success with some of the smaller restaurant operators out there using Gemini or ChatGPT for interior documentation, upgrading their interior systems, procedures, training. Things that are outdated can get updated much quicker when they put a team together and they're running it through that, and bingo. So it's helpful.
I'd love to add to this a little bit too, because at Marquee we've built a hospitality specific AI tool to help respond to reviews. There is no world right now where AI effectively replaces a human, to Mike's point. You still need the human touch, but it's something that can save time, especially for larger teams or a team where you have just a restaurant owner and they're the only person that's trusted to respond to reviews and they can't handle that volume. Being able to put in custom prompts that help create suggested responses that are in a brand voice, and that suit the way that you'd like to respond as a brand. And then you can trust a wide array of employees to review those suggestions and be the one to edit it and hit send and make sure that it has an authentic feel to it. I think that when used in tandem with humans, it's a great tool that can help save time. And I think Mike made a great point about that. The other place that AI ends up being really helpful for restaurant operators is in that data analytics point. If you are talking about reviews again, and if you have a large volume of reviews and want to spot common themes or key points, or get a summary of your reviews over the last 60 days. What are the common themes coming through there across all of your locations? That's a tool that can be used that will save so much time and really distill that information down for you in a way that a human would take days to do.
And we've had a client do some of that, only it was more to the point that Kyle was talking about earlier, and that was real estate, because there are some services that collect a tremendous amount of data. And there's one growing company that I'm aware of that said they subscribed to the service and then they used artificial intelligence to do review, categorizing of facts, setting up of charts, saved a ton of time, and probably helped them understand it a whole lot easier and quicker.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Chris, and thank you, Kelsey. Let's go to the other side of the pond. Richard Liverman, one of our digital hospitality leaders from the other side of the pond. This is a global show. Richard, take 60 seconds. Who are you? What do you believe? And what's your question for Mike Nagy from Google?
Hi, good evening. My name's Richard. I believe in a mantra of don't be boring, and that's why I'm really enjoying this conversation tonight, because I think it's really interesting. I think more people need to hear this. And I think what's really interesting from my perspective, I've worked in the past with lots of global brands. Now I work with small businesses doing branding, consulting, mentoring, and coaching. And what's really interesting is there's almost this overwhelm a lot of small businesses find with dealing with technology, dealing with social media. And I guess my question to Mike, and it's really interesting listening to you tonight, Mike, is almost, how would you encourage small businesses to take this seriously? Because where I find it really, really interesting is that they all know that they should do it, but they don't. And I think your point earlier about keeping the profile updated, adding all the social media to it, I do it for my business. And so I had a little look before I came. I've got 83 5-star reviews. I was like, get in there. I was really pleased about it. I had all my links on there. I've updated my blogs on there. And I know that my profile's working hard for me. There's more I can do, obviously. But what's really interesting is it's almost the softer side of things, I guess, rather than a technological. How do you encourage small businesses to make the effort to do this properly? Because we all know as operators that this is a really good thing to do. But obviously when you're, juggling the books, staff, everything else, this stuff sometimes get pushed to the bottom of the pile. So I need a bit of advice from you to help me encourage people to do the right thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think when technology is working well, you should just be able to focus on the books or focus on the human touch and not be, overly obsessed with like managing your digital presence. Like there are definitely businesses that have, more resources to have a well-funded marketing department that can run all types of campaigns with A/B tests and blah 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 blah. But I think the purpose of, whether it's a discovery platform like Google or an ads platform, uh, like Google has, or Meta Business Suite being another popular one. If those platforms are doing what they're supposed to do effectively, then you shouldn't be spending all of your time in those platforms. You should be able to put in, 20 quid and see how many impressions you get on platform A versus platform B. And if your campaign doesn't perform well, then it's kind of, our job is people, my job is people who work on, and I don't work on ads, by the way. I only work on organic stuff, but we do cross paths. To give businesses some type of actionable next step or suggestion, to tweak your campaign to see if you can get a different result. So you're not sitting there in front of a machine with kind of writer's block and thinking like, what do I do next? Obviously if you're presented with it, hey, you could do A, you could do B, or you could do C, like you as a you, and of course, like you could say D, neither. I'll write my own thing. But when these tools can help you uh, uh, with that first draft, or pick between three options that have like a decent likelihood of success based on some uh, larger trend or insight that we have into this business, then you can do that. And off you go, back to the books, back to running payroll, talking to guests, whatever you do.
Can we appreciate the elegance of Mike slipping in 20 quid into that, into Richard's? That was so smooth.
Very smooth.
I did notice, and I think my fellow Brits, if you want to do that in slang, it's 20 squid. But I just thought that was beautiful.
Well played.
I like that question a lot, though, because the time that it takes for restaurants, like, it's one of the hardest calculations that restaurateurs or any entrepreneur is how to spend their time and where they're getting the return, right? A lot of them are constantly trying to decide between spending time in the business versus on the business. There's multiple data entry. I just updated my menu on my point of sale. Do I need to go to 3 other tools and update my menu there? How can we get it more integrated? So we talk a lot about return on time to our restaurateurs, because it's hard for them to figure out which
It's
of
the
these
overwhelm.
tasks can get the return and which one of them can potentially be automated.
That's awesome. Good stuff. Jordan Silverman, welcome to the stage, part of our digital hospitality community. 60 seconds. Go for it. Who are you? What do you believe? And what's your question for Mike Nagy of Google?
Hey, everyone. Jordan, CEO and co-founder of Starfish. We help restaurants and their bookkeepers turn complex P&Ls into actionable insights to help them lower their costs and increase their profits. Mike, I was excited about this topic. I was at a customer, and he was complaining to me about Google reviews because he swears that his competitor has been leaving fake negative reviews for him. All the time, he says once a week he gets a negative review pop up that's 1 star, and he swears it's from his competition. Whether it is or not is beyond the point, but my question to you is, for him, what is the right action for him?
I got asked this exact question in Delhi, and there's not really a good answer. And I can't believe I didn't get in trouble for saying, like, well, have you tried responding back with another 1-star review for their business? Anyway, do not do that. Do not do that. Don't engage in these types of digital turf wars. It's complicated to strike the balance between, like, there's, like, despite some popular misconceptions and this narrative about Google and privacy, Google actually cares a lot about privacy. And sometimes it makes us, our obsession with privacy actually stands in the way of us being able to, tackle this problem perfectly, right? Because it's like, if your Google account was tied to a social security number and there was like if it was like locked, we had an API to like Interpol or whatever, like, we would be able to do something with this about this, like, way more easily. If it's a 1-star review that is posted on an account that has no other reviews, and you flag it for removal, you can. Everyone here has had to do this, I'm sure. It's like, I'm not saying anything new, but it's like, just try to do that, and also don't hyperfixate on it. Like, when I as a customer see a 1-star review with like no context, as a user, I just know that this is noise, because even consumers, I feel like, know that this type of stuff happens. And it's like, it's not helpful when I read a 1-star review with no context. I just move on. I actually don't even sort by highest star or lowest star and again, I'm speaking as a consumer. I typically filter by most recent. And I actually look for things that are written by local guides, because, like, there's a badge, and these people, have written a lot of Google reviews and tend to do it for, some type of like digital sport, and good for them. But they're usually the most well-written reviews. And they'll usually call out things that they liked and things that they didn't like. And I find that they're fairly objective. And I just tune out these, like, low, mediocre. And I also tune out the 5-star reviews without a ton of context. Like they're there, the rating is helpful. It goes into the overall score, but so long as a score isn't alarmingly bad, if it is the type of business that I'm looking for in a close proximity at a price point that fits my budget, I'll just give it a shot and then I will decide for myself if I like it. Um, I have a reputation in our building of taking people to uh, you know, like kind of like really divey places, like super divey. A lot of people at Google like to go to like really nice, you know, classy restaurants, and I like to take people to like the other side of the tracks. Like, let's go over here. This place has a da 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 da. And if you like look at the interior and whatever, like some of the people are like, "Are you sure, Mike? Do you really want to go here? Like this place seems kind of sketchy." But the food is amazing, and I can change their mind. So like I don't know. I'm a weirdo in that I work for a big tech company, but I don't really index on interior or presentation or it's all about flavor in food. Like the food will sell itself.
Same page, man.
I like to
dive bar is the way to go.
I think that I just want to underline something, Mike, that you said there kind of quickly as you were walking through, because I think it's great advice and it's happy to hear that validation we've been preaching to the smaller hands-on restaurant operator that does get very angry and they fixate on it and they know that it's false and they know where it's coming from. And what they really want to do is find a guy, give them a pipe, send them to the back door. And I mean, it just gets crazy. And we're trying to tell them, let's not fixate it. It's all about recent. And I liked your point about giving the guest a little more credit. Now we've been doing this for a while, and they see through a lot of that. And so that's really how we try to get most of the people that want to go load a gun over the hump.
Right. Well, and the flip side to that is like, when I look at like influencer content for food, I as a search user, social media user, have uh, ended up in like fallen for one too many traps where it was like clearly a paid promotional video and there was no actual substance, or like this place was literally created to look good on Instagram and probably won't be around like it's not going to last in like 10 months. um so there's problems in all digital ecosystems.
I just want to point out Adam is hiding his dinner in a show. Adam, if you're gonna join the program, at least fix your camera so we can watch what you're doing. You've got gloves on, you've got a knife, you're moving, like, come on. Where's the hospitality, Adam?
Shawn, I'm right there.
I don't know if I can take my background off.
It was amazing.
Don't worry about it. Enjoy your dinner. We want to get to as many people as possible. Adam, we love you. Thank you for being here. Ian, welcome to the stage. Take 60 seconds. Who are you? What do you believe? And what's your question for Mike Nagy from Google?
Yeah, hi. I'm Ian Hawksworth. I'm with EHS Recruiting Company. We work in the hospitality and restaurant scene to connect top talent to restaurants and other hospitality organizations that are in need of their skills. We have a network of offices nationwide, and my office is focused on Southern California. My biggest question, I guess, for Mike would be, for places that don't have brick and mortar, is there anything different we should do on Google to promote our services since we can't tie it to a specific location?
I guess I don't know enough about the services. You mentioned recruiting, you mentioned hospitality industry, but like what does that look like?
So most of our offices don't have a brick and mortar location, so that we're doing work remotely across the country. We do nationwide searches, but some of the offices aren't based where they're in the community they're serving necessarily, but they have rights to a specific territory.
Okay, but I guess I'm a little confused. Are you asking for your recruiting business, how should you be using business profile or
Yeah. For a business such as mine or other consultants often are based in one location but do work, across the country.
Do you have to have you have to have a physical location?
you don't have to have a physical like there's a class of businesses that can have a business profile. Think like a, I don't know, like a local mobile auto detailer, somebody that comes here, AC repair place. Like they're not necessarily going to have a like a physical location. Like I don't take the air conditioner from my house somewhere if it needs to be serviced. Somebody comes to me, and that's what Google calls like a service area business. Um, you know, uh, I don't necessarily know that like Google Business Profile is the best place to be trying to run a recruiting agency. I mean, you can obviously like promote your services and like the stuff that you do, and on Google, and do ads to try and drive traffic to your platform. Like LinkedIn is probably a great like better platform for yeah, this type of work. But yeah, within like like I don't know of a single restaurant that is searching for like you know like a local operator that is like, I'm trying to think of like what the user query would be in a local intent, and I'm having a hard time understanding what that would look like. And
Yeah.
that's like necessary for at least like the work that I'm familiar with.
Sure. Yeah, I was just curious about kind of the location sensitivity, or like maybe something like a ghost kitchen where they operate out of different kitchens, what the versatility would be, or if there would be, any hacks or specific approaches that you'd take
The
differently.
thing about hacks is that there are a lot of people that try to get really creative with business profile, and then it stops working, and then they're they end up very frustrated because they've tried to make something that's not really a service area business, and then they have trouble with verification or suspension or listing deletion. So um, there are like guidelines for who can use uh, Google Business Profile, and you can see like, okay, do I fit all of these boxes? If you don't fit all of those boxes neatly, just candidly, you may have a tougher time trying to use Business Profile. And because Business Profile is really intended for that like local use case of, I'm trying to find this specialized either place or service in a very specific area, if there isn't a big search volume for that in, let's assume that you do have a service area, if the query volume is small, you're probably not going to see a huge return on investing in that channel in the first place. Just candidly.
Awesome. And just
Hey, Shawn, you know how I like to jump in with this
Please.
housekeeping stuff. A reminder to everybody: if you hover over your name, just below your name, you can put your title, your website, etc. And I just wanted to ask Steven Swiderski to please put the Randy Macho Man Savage glasses back on. You missed Steven, you missed Zach. You and Zach should start a show between your sunglasses and his jacket today. Back to you, Shawn.
Definitely. And another programming note, Google has an awesome newsletter. Lisa Landsman, she has been instrumental in getting all of these people here. She got Mike here. They're putting on the event in New York next week, which a lot of members on this call will be at. So we're going to be getting more feedback from Google. But if you guys want a link to that newsletter, we're going to put it in the show notes. So my producers Stover and Mike will make sure that that newsletter is easily available to this community and any of the restaurants that you guys serve. Quick programming note: we go till 11:15. I don't know, Mike, if you have a hard out. Mike G,
I
do you have a hard?
I will have a hard out.
Hard out at 11.
I can go a little bit past 11.
Okay, when you could give me a 2-minute warning before you go so you can wrap up, but we'll continue the call after you go. So thank you for your time. We really appreciate it. Scott Turner from the other side of the pond, Auden Hospitality. Who are you? What do you believe? And what's your question for Mike G from Google?
Hi, everyone. First time on this year. Happy New Year. We've been busy rewriting the rules of Hotel F&B with hoteliers, trying to get them to turn some of that boring food and beverage venues into exciting, bold, innovative food and beverage. Mike, there's someone who is part of the community, Heather Cox. She talks a lot about how like the updates should be treated like a social media feed, and you should be constantly posting on there because it actively helps visibility, especially from an organic perspective. I was wondering whether that was true. How important it is for people, and then in terms of updating photos and things like that in line with it, how important is that for restaurateurs to be constantly doing stuff on that side of the profile?
In terms of constantly updating, I'll start with constantly updating photos. If the interior of your business has not changed and you uh, have a high quality photo, I don't necessarily think you're adding anything by just adding more of the same photos that are not very different, right? Like yes, they will show up on like the latest tab, uh, of business profile, but also like when we render in different experiences, like a catalog of photos, like if there's already a beautiful photo, you could end up competing with your own photo, which already will have had a certain amount of clicks and a certain amount of like user signals. So you can risk just like diluting uh like other photography. So but that being said, if the if you have updated the interior of your business, if camera technology has evolved, and you took something that was a great photo but it was like taken with a crappier camera, you should absolutely be updating these things. uh, I think that like when like especially for food, if you don't have pictures of your food on your listing, you're making a huge mistake. Like you should have pictures of your food on your listing. There is a food tab in business profile. There are places to upload pictures of food next to menu items. You should be doing that. People like pictures worth 1,000 words. Food is visual. Everyone knows that, but just in case somebody's listening to this podcast and has not done that, I I think that that's good bang for your buck. When it comes
Especially
to
if you already have all those menu images too, right? Like
right,
most restaurants that we work with, they already have tons of item images that are in their point of sale or somewhere in existing. So you've got a lot more content, available than you may realize. And sometimes instead of doing all of them at once, you can kind of drip them out, feature them over time, right?
and yeah, it's this goes back to I guess like the very first question, which is like, what is the thing that every business should be doing? And it's like in order of operations, it's like things like factual information such as website, making sure that that stuff is up to date, does not take a lot of time and is 100% worth doing. Now we're at the stuff that is like maybe a little bit more work, but is rewarding. And if if entering in your menu data into Google, if you don't have a system, like a Chowly or a Marquee that is like omni-channel pushing stuff out to other channels, yeah, it's I've actively made it much less tedious to do this first time generation of menu content on Google. Actually, in Austin, we worked on the feature that allows you to upload a menu photo or now a PDF. It took us, until Q4 2024 to support PDF as a file type. But not only do we upload those as photos, we can turn them into structured data. So that first time generating of all this like data entry, entering my menu, is it's a lot less if you can just start from this other content that you already had, and if all you're doing then is augmenting that that data entry, data entry of the sections, descriptions, items, prices, by uploading those photos that you already have, like Sterling said, like people already have their food photography. So if you just add that to your listing, you're in great shape. I didn't talk about updates and local posts. I mean, those do show up on Google. There are not as many businesses that create local posts as I wish there were, but the creator tools for local posts, just being honest with myself, are not as slick as some of these other platforms. So, if you're posting the same stuff in local posts that you're posting on Instagram, and we have the content from Instagram, then I would actually argue that you are doing unnecessary work. If we're getting it from Instagram, then we can save you the effort of making a distinct local post. If you are creating unique content on local posts, then it's really kind of up to you to determine whether or not, if you're creating events, are people finding your events? Are they finding them on Google? And I know that we don't really have great like we had local post insights once upon a time, and I believe they've been deprecated. Actually, no, they've been deprecated. Um, but like if you feel like they're working, then continue doing it. If something isn't working, then I'm not going to ask you to just keep doing it just because I work for Google. That's not fair to you.
Awesome.
One of the features that I love that Google has, and I think is really underutilized by restaurant operators, maybe because it is a little bit time consuming to set up, is the menu item attributes. So you can set things like heat level, spice level for different foods, or whether something's vegetarian or gluten-free, and you can put those attributes in your menu, which also, correct me if I'm wrong here, Mike, but it also helps with the SEO and that local search when somebody's searching for a search term that's pertaining to that menu item attribute. It will help, and that's an update that you can make when you add a special or change out a seasonal menu that can really make an impact for being found for those menu items.
Yes, I mean, for people that are searching for those specific things, it is helpful. I actually think that we have opportunities ahead of us in 2025 to refine some of those results. Like, a business that serves gluten-free dishes, where one dish on their entire menu is gluten-free, is probably not going to be the place that I take my friend with celiacs, because there's not much variety. And I think, like, right now it's like, it's very like, is it true false? And I think that there's an opportunity for us to, for the businesses that have like the full depth of that information, to be able to better match a user intent with a business that can fulfill that intent. um, but kudos to Marquis for implementing those attributes. Thank you.
That's amazing. Mike, before you go, can you just give us a wrap up? Thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Thank you, Lisa, for getting this together. And we're excited about New York for those of us that are going. We're going to keep the call going, but with respect to Mike Nagy's time, just give us a summary of what we talked about today, or any parting words.
I mean, the parting words for this audience would just be to periodically log into Business Profile. There are recommendation cards that, as we roll out new features, will highlight said feature so that you can, set up a new attribute. Sometimes we roll things out and we don't have a lot of fanfare for said thing. The dog friendly patio is a good one. I think that we actually should do a better job at like highlighting these net new attributes, so that when we get the critical mass, we can design all the, great user facing stuff, such as like, what are restaurants, I think my mother asked me recently, like, do you have a recommendation for a Tex-Mex restaurant next to Red River? It was like, the answer to that question is no. Like, in that area of town where I'm at, like, I don't have a great recommendation. But I asked Gemini, and actually just sent her a Gemini link, and I'm like, hey, I don't have a recommendation. Like, that's not my first choice for Tex-Mex. I also think that Austin has an opportunity to have a better Tex-Mex scene. Houston is better in terms of Tex-Mex. But it's like really cool to see how, an LLM can generate, and it absolutely uses these signals, right? Like, we use this data to create this like curated list of like, here are 5 places that, you know, are relevant. You know, so yeah, I mean, I'm not like, I don't think the business profile is a platform. It's not our intent to create something that you need to log into every single day, like your email, nor should it be. But you should at least be logging in periodically to make sure that there's not a new signal that you could be providing that would help us connect people to your business, and also add your menu stuff. Like, that's obvious.
That's awesome. Well, you're welcome to stay as long as you can, Mike. Thank you for your time. This community appreciates it. And Joe Fontana, first time on Rising Tides. He took the leap. I meet with people all the time, and I'm like, hey, if you're crazy enough, come join our live show. We do it every Wednesday. We do it every Friday. And welcome to the community. Take 60 seconds. Who are you? What do you believe in? And any questions about Google? Because we still got a great panel of Google experts, in my opinion, that are on the call.
Awesome. Thank you. Honored to be here and excited to learn that this is going on. My name is Joe Fontana. I'm in Chicago. I'm the founder, owner of Fry the Coop. We got 9 locations around the Chicagoland area, building 2 more out right now and a commissary. So got some exciting stuff in Chi-Town. I've been always so curious, like I'm the only one that replies to our reviews and I miss a lot. And I wish I could reply to all of them. Just takes a lot of time. I was so curious, like, does it help SEO? I know obviously it's great to do for the hospitality aspect, but like, I've been so curious, like, should I be spending a crazy amount of effort replying to reviews, making sure I'm hitting every one of them? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Sterling, you want to take that, or Troy?
Yeah, I mean, happy to. In our experience, also, I used to eat at your Wells Market location twice a week. By the way, I love that sandwich. Big fan there. But yeah, I mean, in terms of replying to reviews, we haven't found a huge SEO difference in it. But one thing that we have noticed is a very big like brand hygiene kind of response to it. So especially for groups that we talk to that are franchising, that are like early in their franchising, that's really great because when they're selling franchises, they can kind of show like how clean the brand is in terms of how it responds to reviews, that they're real, and all of that. We haven't seen a big SEO improvement from it, but we have kind of associated it with more successful restaurants just because I think it's kind of like it's not like causation, it's correlation. Like groups who are willing to spend the time to stay that close to their guest are typically more successful. That's been our experience in it. To kick it to Troy too, see if he's got more than I do.
Troy, how do you respond to 500 plus restaurants across the globe?
We use a platform called Momos. We respond. We went from, in the beginning of 2023, went from about a 4% response rate worldwide to we're at 97.5% response rate. And I don't understand why it's not 100. We have 3 people in Singapore that do all of Asia. Awesome. And we're turning it on here in the US where we can manage it from the brand. Right now, my franchisees are using it locally. But, you know, Joe, I'll say this. If somebody was at the front counter or at a table in your restaurant and wanted to share some feedback, good, bad, or indifferent, what would you do? Would you say, no, I'm sorry, I'm too busy to come out to the table? So, right? Like, that's it. Or, you know, or would you only respond to people who want to complain? No, you want to talk to the people that are happy too, right? So that's always been my take on it. What Sterling was saying is really you're building trust and authority and relationship, but you're building a community. Sorry, my son broke the microphone arm. I got a new arm. B&H Photo, New York City when I'm there.
I love a live show, Troy.
Yeah, you know how it is. Live is always live. But yeah, the point being that, you know, you're when I read reviews and exactly what Mike said earlier, you throw away the ones, you throw away the 5s that don't have any meaningful context or if the trend is off, you know, et cetera. But you know, you want to know generally what's the sense? Are people saying music's always too loud, but I love the food and I love the place, or the owner's an asshole, but it's worth going anyway? Like you kind of take the context, and so you have to give the context, right? I was going to say this earlier, and now it's come up again about reviews. everybody in here, we've got to get Zach to record it if it's not already. If it is, let's find it and republish it. But Zach Oates has a phenomenal story. He does it on keynotes on stages about his wife writing a review for a pizza restaurant who made these wild claims about the most authentic Italian pizza and blah, 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 blah. And it was garbage. It was terrible. And she wrote a review and they got into a spat back and forth. And he shares this conversation from the stage that really highlights what not to do, right? Like, just be yourself, be authentic. What would you say if you're at the front door, somebody stopped you in the street, you're at the grocery store and somebody had something to say about you and your brand? Respond just like that. Whatever that authentic conversation is, that's what people are looking for. It's going to resonate with the people that want to be your customer.
Is Momo spelled M-O-M-O?
Yes.
And how much do you spend on that service?
It's about retail. It's about $60 a month per location. And of course, AI automated, AI assist or direct answer you can do. But the other part of that is that you can see everything. It does. If you connect your social channels, your Google, Yelp, OpenTable, whatever, you can see all of it in one place. So you're not logging into Google and responding to reviews. You're logging into Facebook or responding to reviews. So, it's like Marquee does for menu and all the other details about your business. We just happen to use Momo's on a global scale to listen to both social and direct feedback, and then respond where we can. By the way, the data insights, the learnings is insane. I could tell you that we have a problem with a specific employee in Mongolia today, based on the last, these 3 things coming up. So these platforms are getting just so smart with AI, right? They can tell you what you can't see the trends. You can't see what people are talking about in the micro. No matter how many of those things you read, it brings all that to the surface. So I think there's some intelligent tools like that that are really high value.
Awesome. Well, Joe, thank you for joining. I hope you keep coming back every Wednesday, every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. We live stream. I think today we got the most amount of people on the show. So let's get through as many as we can. Thank you guys for your patience. Jay Ashton, Mr. Canadian Restaurant. Are you Mr. Restaurants Canada? Is this a franchise that Kyle and Sarah's, you guys franchise that out? You're Mr. Restaurants North America or United States? How does this work? Who's got the IP rights?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. There might be someone in New York, I think it was.
Somebody in New York. He's right there. Mr. Restaurants on TikTok, which is going down. So you can bring it. You can be Mr. Are you Mr. Restaurants on Instagram, Kyle? No.
We'll have to trade.
Go ahead, Jay.
I love it. Well, hi, everyone. So I'm Jay Ashton. I'm Canada's restaurant guy up here in Canada, and I'm also created the first hospitality coaching program for Cisco Canada. So I'm at Cisco's headquarters here in Edmonton. So we are the first hospitality coaching program for first distributor in North America. So we're very excited about that. We just launched this program with Cisco. So I work for Cisco and I do my little thing on the other side as well once in a while. One of the things I think from our perspective up here in Canada is really understand the difference between the Canadian market and the US market. You guys got a lot of cool toys down there that we see either on TikTok and different things like that. We don't get in Canada. And is that still the same when it comes to Google is my question to everyone. Is that the same like TikTok? We don't have TikTok shop here in Canada. And we see everyone getting on it and we're pretty damn jealous up here of all the features and things you guys get there. So I'm just thinking on the Google, my question is around that to the group is what you see in the US is the same as what we see in Canada?
Well, I wish Mike was still on the call because he's probably the most qualified to answer.
I was going to say.
But what I can promise you is that this group will talk to the Google product team and all the people that are going to be presenting to us in New York next week and ask them specifically about Canada. We have so many friends in Canada. Jay, we appreciate you and obviously everyone else that's in Canada that joins these shows. And yeah, I think it's a great question. I mean, anybody's welcome to jump in if they have any Canadian Google specific knowledge, but I think that's definitely beyond my scope.
Yeah,
hey, Jay, if you show me yours, I'll show you mine. All I gotta do is get on a Zoom and Well, let's
Yeah,
put up
there you
let's
go.
put up some listings next to each other and see what features and benefits are being shown to each other.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that's a brilliant idea. The other thing is, I just want to just leave on this, is that we're going through a tariff situation here over the next 48 hours or next few days, that the Canadian market is absolutely terrified of what's going to go happen. And so anything you guys have when it comes to tariff, we're doing a tariff talk tonight, but we're about to see our industry possibly go through something that's worse than COVID up here in Canada. So that's what I'm jumping on.
Hey,
So-
Jay, you guys need to learn that he's bluffing and he's full of shit. It'll last
hope
6
you are all
it'll last 6
right.
hours, 6 days, or 6 weeks, but he's just a bully and it's going to be okay. But
we'll celebrate, man.
And if it's, hey Jay, if it's not, let's start an underground tunnel railroad of products and services between the two. Okay.
There you go.
We're about to go in a tailspin. Yeah, please do. Please.
We're down here in SoCal. We know people that know how to do that kind of thing. So
yeah,
it's nasty, right? It's really, really bad what we're going through, because we've got taxes. I don't know if you guys know this. I'll blow your mind. Do you know 70% of our income right now goes to taxes in Canada?
Wow.
So your checks, you get every day or every 2 weeks, 70% goes to our government.
I know. I was very surprised to see that. We have let's see, we're working with 3 right now restaurant groups in Canada, and going through numbers and listening to that, the amount of business costs, as well as what you were talking about, income taxes, it's staggering. But I just wanted to underline what Troy was saying. There's going to be a lot of talk and posturing. I'm not so sure if it's going to be, as tough. I think everyone needs to stay in the business, relax, serve the guest. It's not time to slit our wrists yet.
No, I hope you're right and appreciate it. I work with about 20 groups right now, and we're all like kind of holding our breath for Tuesday. So
Cisco's still going to make deliveries.
Oh, we'll make money. We're damn loaded. Don't worry. We're richer than most, but it's my restaurants I'm worried about.
Well, we appreciate you, Jay. We'll bring that question to Google next week and keep us up to date on the tariff situation. Elizabeth Doss, real quick, anything you want to add on Google so we can get to as many as possible? Thank you guys for hanging. Thanks for resharing. We appreciate it. This has been an awesome conversation, and thank you to Google for showing up for this community and showing up for restaurants. We appreciate it. Go for it, Elizabeth.
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm the Giphy Queen. Gifts viewed over 6 billion times. If you want gifts for your restaurant, for your business, feel free to reach out to me. No, one thing I wanted to shout out, Shawn, because I'm sad that Steven had to leave, because I'm over here like snooping on several of y'all's Google business pages.
Good.
And Steven is hardcore answering every Google thing and signing it himself.
Yes.
So that if they come to the restaurant, they know who to talk to. My sister has been in a manager in restaurant stuff for years, and she's always told me that it's not just the review, the person you're responding to, it's everyone else in the room that's watching, which is anyone else that's clicking on those reviews. And so when you show up there, I know the question about SEO and that type of stuff. I loved what Sterling said about the brand hygiene side of things.
Yep.
It does keep things clean when they see that they will get a reaction or response from you. And so I just thought that was great. But keeping in mind, you may be frustrated with what that person posts, but you're not talking to them. You're talking to everybody else who's reading your response. And so just wanted to throw that in there. Also, Ian's question about location. I don't know the specifics, but I did see on, so Ian, I'm throwing this out to you publicly. I did see that on Scott Turner's on Auden Hospitality, his Google business profile is not location based. He doesn't have a map thing. So you might want to reach out to him to ask what he has his business under, to be able to have that Google business profile, but not have it be brick and mortar side of things. So anyway, back to you, Shawn.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Yeah, just a reminder to everyone on the call, please connect on LinkedIn. This community is weirdly available for each other. We have a Slack channel that you can join. We have DMs on LinkedIn. We have DMs on Instagram. We want to support you, your restaurant, your business, whatever you're doing on any platform. So you can email podcast@calibbq.media, and Mike and Stover from the team will make sure you guys are added to whatever channels. I know not everyone wants to get bombarded, but If you want to be bombarded, if you want good content, and we believe in this community, we will support you. So please join us. Laura, please, mic is yours. Go for it. Thank you for the patience.
Thanks for having me here. Laura Wilbur, and I live in San Diego, and I'm in the business of showing up for my restaurant clients and bringing friends. And by friends, I mean 21 million expense account diners looking for great restaurants when they're traveling for business. They're dining in, carrying out, ordering, catering, and booking private events. What I believe is that 80% of success is showing up consistently. And I commend all of you for showing up here so consistently. It's been such a big part of my learning and growing related to all things social media. And I didn't really have a question related to Google. I did want to make two quick comments that Mike said he doesn't care about the ambiance of a restaurant. I'm the exact opposite. So it really needs to have beautiful natural light. It needs to be clean. And there was just an article related to Noodles and Company about how the reviews were starting to say, hey, my table is scratched. It's not clean. They've switched from regular plates to disposable plates. So the whole user experience or guest experience started to decline, and it's really shown up in business or lack thereof for the brand. So just a plug for all things that accompany the guest experience, not just the food. And then an idea for a future topic, and I don't know if you have it, but this TikTok thing is such a interesting. None of us know what it will end up as, but Kyle, I saw you shake your head that you don't have a Instagram account. What
He
are you gonna
does.
do?
It's just not.
Oh,
He's not
okay.
branded. And oh yeah, he's heavy on all platforms. He's just not.
Okay, okay.
I'm giving him
What
a.
do you?
He's Mr. Restaurant specifically on TikTok, and
Okay, love
he's
it.
curated quite a community on there.
But Kyle, where do you think if it is banned, where do you think that audience is gonna move?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have no clue. I'm just really banking that it's not going to go anywhere. And I've just been heavily pushing my content from TikTok onto Instagram, kind of the old
Okay.
reliable. So I've backed everything up except for this year. Every video has been backed up, so I have it to deploy at whatever event.
Okay.
But I'm really optimistic that it's not going anywhere. Maybe
Good. Okay, and then one other idea related to the restaurateur that is pretty convinced his competitor is giving him 1-star reviews. I would say take the Taylor Swift approach, put out so much content that you drown out the haters, and that's exactly what she's always done. And then I'm curious about Google. If they get too many 5-star reviews all at once, Yelp used to filter those down and consider them to be manipulated reviews. But I wonder if Google, because if you have friends and family and people who love your restaurant, you can say, "Hey, we're being attacked here. This is unfair. Could you support us by elevating our reviews?" Because we all know how important those are to the success and long-term health of a restaurant. So I don't know if anyone knows what Google's policy about getting too many 5-star reviews at one time,
We
if
will
they're
ask.
gonna get.
You can
Yeah.
get flagged. You can
Yeah.
get flagged. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
we will
right.
ask for sure. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Let's go over to Mercedes. Thank you for your patience. Welcome. Real quick, so we
Yelp
get
still
through. Go
does
for it.
take down your reviews,
Yep.
Laura. Yelp still does take down reviews. And Google, essentially you cannot ask for reviews or barter for. But Mercedes coming at you from sunny San Diego, Director of Sales and Events for the Wood Group in Pacific Beach. I'm actually on Google as we're on this call because we're trying to update our nightclubs events page and just make sure that we're getting it out into as many channels as we can. I'm kind of sad that he left as well because I wanted to ask what is the most underutilized tool on Google, or maybe anybody in the call that utilizes a tool that they feel like a lot of other restaurants don't utilize on Google. I just want to open up to that. Does anybody have a tool on Google that they use that they feel like nobody else really knows about?
Good question. Troy?
Just go, Richard.
Just a quick one, Mercedes. I've started adding my blogs to Google on my Google profile, and it's just a really, really simple thing. It was one of those things that they were talking about earlier, where if you look after your profile once a month, and it's just such a simple thing to do. And something I picked up from Elizabeth a while ago, which is how do you repurpose content, and you're putting it on multiple different channels. Just by adding it onto the profile, what it seems to have done is, I don't know whether it's increased views, but definitely I'm seeing more traffic. Now, I don't know why, but putting those blogs on there, for me, I was doing it so if somebody's exploring my business, they can learn more about it. And it's just one of those things where often I look at small businesses' Google profiles, and it's like the land that time forgot. Once a month, just putting a bit of content on them blogs is such a simple win. Hope that helps.
Richard,
Yeah,
where
that's so smart.
Wait, put the blog on your Google for Business profile?
As a post. As a post, right?
As a post.
Yeah, as a post.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody's going to have to teach me how to post on my Google Business profile.
You're on the Google Business profile. You should be able to just put, you can actually post video too, which is something that they changed in the last year or two.
I'll let you guys show me when we're all together with Google on next week.
Deal. Adam, you're up now that you've made dinner for us all, or made pudding for us all. Real.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, real quick. What's your Google story or question?
The Google story. I am actually a Google local guide, level 7. I thank you very much. My photos have been viewed 70. Sorry, go on.
Level 7 is level 8. Is level 8 higher or level 1 or level 6? Which way does it go?
No, level 8 is higher. So the more you do,
how high does it go?
So,
how high does it go?
I think it goes to about 12 or 13. I think I haven't looked recently, but my photos have been viewed 7.2 million times. As you can see, I've got no hair, right? So I've been uploading photos to every single restaurant. Funny enough, there's a restaurant in Central Park that's terrible, doesn't do very nice pasta, but I took a photo of it and it looked amazing. And that individual photos had 3.2 million views just on Google Photos. So I get lots of emails from Google saying, well done, thank you for posting. I'm in hospitality, so I don't put really negative reviews. I'll go and speak to the operator and have a chat and let them know about it rather than posting. But that's me for Google. I miss the Google Business app. Lots of my clients miss the Google Business app because you could easily respond to Google reviews using that Google Business app on your phone. So that's a big thing. Lots of our customers are really unhappy about. Hi, I'm Adam. I'm the Wi-Fi guy. Basically help you collect first-party data, but I won't go into it today because I went into it last time. The other thing that's really interesting and an interesting point is obviously there's Google Reserve, right? Google Reserve is great tool to use. It's plugged into POS, but there's no tracking on Google Reserve. So one thing I'd love to be able to see is how many people got through to which stage of that reservation, and why doesn't Google allow you to do like a basket recovery style thing? For example, what we're sort of building on our side. So there's so much power within that. I've also seen that Google Waitlist is actually being used in the US, but not a huge amount. And Google Waitlist is a really powerful tool for waitlists, especially. So if you're a restaurant that's super busy and you have the option to turn on Google Waitlist, I think it's only used about 20% in the US. It doesn't exist in the UK here. No one even knows about it. So we're trying to show more people about that tool. So the tracking thing is really important for me on Google. I'd love for, listen, you could do tracking, GA tracking on links and everything with Google ads and everything else. Why can't you do it within the Google Reserve side on the hospitality piece?
Awesome. Thank you, Adam. And
you
just a programming.
You missed my roast potatoes. They were awesome.
And a programming note, next Wednesday, Jordan Silverman is going to be a guest host. And he's going to be talking about the first hospitality job that you've ever had. Why did you get into this business? So please join him. He will be the host of the show. We appreciate any of you that can join that show. Let's real quick do tip, takeaway, homework assignment. Joe Fontana, Fry the Coop, first time on the show. Welcome to the community. What's your tip, takeaway, or homework assignment?
Thank you. I think I'm going to go back to my Google profile and I'm going to go through all the attributes. I do actually go to our Google profile like quite a bit. So that's something I'm going to be, and I'm going to do a little more posting. I've never also done a post. I put pictures up on Google every week and I edit down our TikTok and Instagram videos and I upload them to Google once a week. to kind of help with the SEO. I don't know if that's doing anything, but that's what I do. But I am definitely going to start doing some posts on there too. Because we put an email out every week. I could just reuse the content and just post it on Google. Awesome. So, but yeah, this was awesome. Everything was great. And I think, the more you can get seen when someone's typing in where to eat around me right now, more dollars, more butts and seats we're going to get.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Joe. We hope you keep coming back, man. It's been awesome to have you on the show. Chris Tripoli, another first time, long time friend, long time podcaster, creator, but first time on the Rising Tides live show. Welcome to the community. What's your tip, takeaway, homework assignment?
Well, thank you. My tip for everyone that I know and work with is going to be time management. I really like what was said here about approaching these comments and reviews as if it was somebody that was standing at your counter, as if it was someone that you would be talking to at the table, because it's that important. So a lot of good content, Shawn, a lot of good conversation. I got plenty of notes, but I think my big tip is the one thing that's common for everyone that I work with is we can improve our time management and we can get much more positive success if we manage our time and do this, because they are like customers standing out there in the dining room.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Chris. Troy Hooper.
Homework assignment. If you are anywhere within 3 hours of Irvine, California, February 7th at 10 a.m., please come to the Irvine Spectrum Mall. Everybody's invited. We are grand opening the very first new store since we took over in 2023. And it's a new prototype, new style, new everything, new owners. It's great. So please join us for a grand opening event. Grand opening event, February 7th. Beautiful. Be there around 10. Doors open at 11. We're going to have some celebrations and fun and giveaways. Lots of free food, promotions, coupons for free food to come back.
And just a reminder, the best way to support a restaurant is not to get free food, but to pay for the food, because we love you and we
want
believe
you
in
to
you.
try and
We want to support you.
Thank you. They'll be fine. By the way, they'll be fine. 16 million people will walk past this restaurant every year. I'm not worried about that. I want to share Pepper Lunch with everybody in the region. I want them to see the new kiosks and digital ordering boards and the new style of the restaurant. So please, February 7th, everybody who hears this is absolutely invited. Please tell your friends who live, work, or travel through Southern California. Thank you.
Thank you, Troy. Appreciate it. Ian, takeaway, homework assignment.
I'm going to give a shout out to Los Angeles instead of doing the tip, if that's all right. So I know the news cycle is turbulent and we have short attention spans these days, but it's still ongoing. And please, if you haven't done anything yet, please take a minute to look up a way that you can help. If you have already, greatly appreciate you. I know we're trying to do some stuff on our social media to help those on the ground, but greatly appreciate it. Great conversation today. I'm definitely going to be digging into the Google stuff a little bit more myself. And we have some updating to do. We have a profile, but I got to get on there and update it. So that's homework for myself.
Awesome. Thank you, Ian. Richard Liverman.
Yeah, I'm going to do 3. A tip: if you're ever having a bad day, go read your reviews. It can remind you of why you do what you do. Sometimes we think about it just for the customer and for the business. Hangs it, we own the business. So go read your reviews. So that's the tip. Takeaway: I got to meet Adam in person for the first time this week. We had breakfast yesterday. Like, this stuff works, and it was just a joy. It could have gone on a lot longer, and we could have ranted about service for a very, very long time. And the final one, if anybody gets the chance to promote the webinar, if there's anybody, I'm doing a webinar on Tuesday, 9 a.m. East Coast time, 2 p.m. London time, 6 a.m. California time. It's on my website. It's all over my social media. It's all about brand DNA. If it's useful to a business that you know, please share it. It's been amazing, the support from this community. And thank you. Have a great weekend. And luckily, the Browns can't spoil it.
Appreciate you, Richard. Thank you. Elizabeth Doss, go for it.
Yeah, just very quickly, something that I've learned from Richard is, and I know I need to implement, but is in your offboarding for your clients, because I know several on the call aren't necessarily a brick and mortar restaurant type thing, but in your offboarding for some of your clients or when you're wrapping up a project with them, to make it easy for them to add a Google review. So inviting them to do that, but also giving them the link and the other things so that you can make it as easy as possible for them to leave that for you and ask for it. So back to you, Shawn.
Amazing. Thank you. Laura?
My homework assignment is to revive my Google local guide account. I completely forgot about that. And my word for the year is light. My goal is to shine light on all the great things my clients, colleagues, and friends are doing in business. And I feel like reviving that Google local guide account might be a great way to do that.
Awesome. Thank you, Laura. Mercedes?
Okay, I'm going to repeat what I posted today, which is the difference between I can and I can't is you added the T and you told yourself you couldn't do it. So go out there and do it. It's a long weekend for a lot of us. So just get after it and read those reviews. And I know it feels overwhelming sometimes, like with especially owning the business. If you own the business, I like oversee it sometimes. So it's just like a lot, but it does matter. And people see what you're saying to others. As Elizabeth said, it's not you're not responding to that one person, you're responding to hundreds of people that will see it. So be conscious and be curious.
Amazing. And just a reminder, Google has a small business email. We'll put a link in the show notes. We'll add it to the Slack channel. We'll add it to LinkedIn, but it's an incredible resource. Thank you, Lisa Landsman from Google, for setting that up, for giving information to restaurant owners. Thanks for inviting Mike Nagy on the call today. And thank you to this community. This was really amazing to have so many new people on the call, so many other co-hosts, but we can't do it by ourselves. So let's continue to share the content, share the show every Wednesday, every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. London time, wherever you are in the world. We appreciate you. Stay curious, get involved, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Chris, Troy, Ian, Richard, Elizabeth, Laura, Joe, Adam, Mercedes, and everyone that joined us. We appreciate you guys. Thank you. And that's a wrap.
Well done, mate. That was awesome. Awesome. Great job.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Richard, Adam, Stover, Mike. You guys